that you find someone, whoever it is that you use, they're trusted, and you let them, do that part of the deal. As if when clients come to me and ask me real estate questions, I go, that's a real estate.
Thanks to you to print out that notice required by Montgomery County that
yeah.
by default, the open house agent represent the seller until
Yep.
sign a binding agreement. So I printed a couple copies to bring with me. I also print out what's that called, disclosure and also requirement on the table. Whether people like it, I ask them to take a photo for the agent if they want to write an offer.
Okay.
Another thing is to, I guess, don't tell people anything, ask for their email address, and then say, I will email you the information you're asking about. For example, if you said, how big is the backyard, when do you do the kitchen? If I know the answer, I don't have that. I just ask them to write down their email address. So I can email them later on, like I normally do.
Okay.
Not so those things is that I talked to a couple of people which I think is pretty interested, and they said we don't have a buyer's agent. But when I reach out to them, they just never reply to my email. I just don't know what to do next to, what's the frequency to keep them, the conversation going on.
Did you try closing for an appointment at the open house?
Yes, I tried, but
Okay.
I don't think people are willing to do that, because there's a couple came in and we said we close by. I said, oh, if you're available, I'm happy to stop by to learn what you can do with your current apartment and help you pick on the flat. I said, oh, we help plan tonight, so but we can figure something out. So when I email them again asking for appointment, it's just not that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I always say that the best time to close for that appointment is face to face.
Yes.
It's really hard after the open house to
Yes.
try to get people.
Yeah.
And that's where it's really having kind of, a couple options in your tool belt for closing for appointment. Like we talked about, that kind of label to look, or like trying to find out what's the process they're using, and trying to open in their minds to an alternative process. Because sometimes we lead with product, which is just like, hey, I can start emailing you listings, and that's not necessarily an attractive pitch these days, because people can get tons of product, right? And maybe kind of looking at selling their house, they may not be ready for you to kind of come over and list their house right away. I don't know, anyone else have experience on open houses yet? Yeah.
I did an open house. It was actually the same townhouse. She did it on a Saturday and I did it on a Sunday. Yeah. So around 10 families came over, just one person without an agent. So I gave her my business card. That same evening, I sent her an email. She didn't respond. But a few days later, I called her. And she's like, hi, Erica, yes, I still have your card. It's just that I don't want to waste your time. And I told her, you're not wasting my time. I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm here to help you. And I set up an appointment with her. She's actually coming next week on Wednesday. So I told her that I wanted to do a buyer presentation. So we're meeting next week on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So, and she told me, for all the open houses we went, it was really nice. She's like, we like you, and that's why we're keeping your card. I offer her water and some other stuff that I have there. And she's like, from all the agents that I met, she said, you were really nice, the nicest one. So that was a really nice compliment.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good.
So she recently moved from New York, so she doesn't know the area. So I told her, you're not bothering me. I'm here, to show you around, even if you don't, if you don't have anyone right now, I want to be that person to show you around. Yeah, I'm happy. So,
Very
so
cool.
you might want to call them. Yeah, and just follow up and see, because they're not going to respond. That's cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Question is, if I do an open house for you, and there's clients come in, is that my phone? Oh, okay, I wasn't sure if that was.
Yeah, again, each agent operates a little bit differently. In the past, there used to be this feeling that, well, if anyone who comes in, you'd owe the listing agent. But in most cases these days, it's the listing agent's giving you the open house opportunity. You basically are going to get the any clients. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, let's we got a lot of territory to cover today. We're doing marketing boot camp. I'm going to go a little off script. So I've given you kind of a supplemental kind of our marketing boot camp as well. Yep. So we're going to go through kind of the momentum boot camp on marketing. We'll go over farming, talk a little about incoming. Talk about incoming sign calls or incoming kind of online leads, how to handle those. We'll also talk about a little bit of like what I call my find an itch and scratch it ads. And then we'll also get into just listed, just sold cards. So let's dive into this. So we will jump to page 4. So page 4, this is in regards to a farm marketing plan. So many of y'all probably through your principles and practices class and listening to other agents talk, heard about agents doing geographic farming. And it is one of the simplest forms of farming or simplest forms of marketing, but also one of the least understood and one of the ones that agents have wasted billions of dollars on, I would say, on trying and stopping farms. And I'll give you the kind of pull the curtain back on the brokerage world and tell you what happens with farming. So the cynical side of the business is that, you know, about 1 out of 10 agents makes it in the business past 3 years. Brokerages realize that, and they want their brand out there, understanding that only 1 of the 10 agents they just took on this month will survive, so that they want their brand going everywhere. So they tend to tell agents, yeah, market to farm areas, because what they're doing is they're getting their branding out there, not necessarily the agent's branding. So a lot of brokerages push for farm marketing and kind of geographic marketing, but more selfishly for them, I look at like if you're going to invest your time, energy, effort, and money into a farming program, make sure it makes sense for you and go in eyes wide open, that it's not just good for your brokerage, it's good for you. We operate a lot differently than most brokerages. So we don't see farming as something that's necessarily good for Remax. We see it's, if the agent does it right, it's good for them. It's good for them for the long run. So these financial consequences pages, you've seen these before in Momentum, they tend to look at kind of what happens over time when you work on a project. You know, we go from kind of the beginning stages to becoming proficient to becoming an expert. So this looks at like a year, and you'll see the top headers are years. So year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in theory, picking a farm area of 250, 12 months of mailers gets us at 3,000 mailers. The cost of the mailer, they've got 50 cents. I'm finding with doing 250, you're probably going to be closer to, with postage and printing, probably closer to 85 cents, not 50 cents. So that changes the investment number. But what you want to look at is, you know, money that you earn from your farm, you want to reinvest back into the farm so that you can grow the farm. I look at a farm, what happens with most agents is they either start with too small of a farm or way too big of a farm. And I always say, like, try to pick a reasonable number. And a reasonable number, about 250 is a good number. You can do less than that. You can do more than that. But if you're doing like, if you're starting with 500 or you're starting with 100, I think you're going to find some problems. The other thing I tell agents when it comes to their farms is take whatever farm you're going to do, figure out what your monthly mailer is going to cost you. And to err on the side of caution, let's say it's $1 a mailer. So I'm going to do 250 mailings, $250 a month. And I'm going to take that number and I'm going to times it by 24 months. Because if you're not committed to do a farm for 2 years or more, it's a complete waste of your money and effort. So 24 months of mailings at 250 mailing, that's $6,000. And I tell agents, I'm like, literally do this, like go write a check for $6,000 right now out of your account. And if you cannot do that and you will not do that, then don't start a farm. If that number is reasonable, if that number is within budget, and you are willing to invest that number blindly, right? In a sense, blindly meaning that no, like, well, I'll give it 12 months, right? Not a conditional 6,000. If you're willing to write that number, then I'll give you my blessing to start considering a farm. Okay. So let's hop into page 5 is our no do have, right? So if you want to have a farm, we're going to work on a smart farm system, things we need to know, turnover rate in the neighborhood, some dialogues that you're going to need to know, things you need to have, postcards, market update cards, potentially a neighborhood website or a neighborhood Facebook page, and some tracking. So smart farm basics, page 6. So a couple things, reasons why farms fail typically is agents are not consistent enough is number one. They will start a farm and quit it, right? So consistency. Sometimes they pick a neighborhood that maybe just does not have enough turnover. And sometimes it doesn't have enough turnover because the number they picked is way too small. So again, we talk about that 2-year, like if you are looking at markets and what we do with agents. So whenever someone is considering doing a farm, I always tell them like, okay, give me 3 neighborhoods you're considering and we'll do kind of a breakdown analysis. So we'll get into that and as we get a little further into this. So talks a little bit about this, why to mail, and note they've got this in a downward shifting market, which we're not in. We do find agents they pull back from marketing. So that does create opportunities. Right now, based on the low inventory, we found a lot more agents hopping back into target marketing for neighborhoods, trying to find listings. That's not to say that right now is a terrible time to start farming, but you have to be really strategic. And sometimes, and I always tell agents, it's almost like when you guys written offers before, right? Like when you're talking to your buyer about like, well, what cap are we going to put on this? And your buyer usually throws out a cap that's like really round in number. And I'm like, that's a number that I bet you most buyers are going to pick. So let's pick a different cap number, right? Let's be a little different. Similarly with farms, sometimes the farms that you want to pick, a lot of other agents are picking too. So sometimes you got to be really strategic about it. Sometimes it's those neighborhoods that no one wants to farm, right? That are actually really good farms. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So what to mail? Typically the best things to mail are going to be neighborhood update cards, right? What it does is, since you don't have a relationship with these clients, what you're trying to do is build familiarity. And one of the best ways is to build familiarity is like, hey, this is my neighborhood. This is agent A. Agent A is marketing my neighborhood. It builds some trust and some familiarity because the agent is branding themselves as an expert within your neighborhood. So neighborhood update cards are really great. You might say, well, Joe, there's been like one transaction in that neighborhood in the last month, right? Like, am I just going to promote that one thing? So sometimes it's good to have some other things that you might be able to mail into that neighborhood. Yep. Yep. So 8 and 8, we talked about this a little bit previously. So an 8 and 8 is it's a Hobbs Herder, which is a marketing company that talks about doing to create brand awareness is it's 8 mailings in 8 weeks.
Oh,
They do recommend, a potential recommendation is when you're trying to get some market share within the neighborhood is to really bombard that neighborhood quickly to try to really elevate your message within that neighborhood. So that was in the referral boot camp. So if you go back to the referral boot camp, it's going to have those 8 postcards that they recommend. It's almost like your 8 points, right? Like, why would you use me, right? Negotiating skills, marketing presence, just kind of goes through your points. So other things you can market kind of as neighborhood update cards, besides just like the recent sales, you can talk about, well, if you know the neighborhood's models, right? Let's say there's 5 different models within the neighborhood, right? You can do a marketing card that kind of just shows your knowledge of the market within that neighborhood. We talk about key indicators of success, things that you can market. Like we talk about our list price to sales price ratio. Remax Realty Center, we're at 102.8% list price to sales price ratio. The Montgomery County average is 101.7. So Remax Realty Center agents sell 1.1% higher on our listings than the marketplace does. Going to an average neighborhood, let's say it's $650,000 neighborhood, that's about a $7,000 savings for seller clients. You can look at your, days on market. We look at our days on market. Our days on market, I think, is about 6 days on market less than the competition. On an average mortgage, that saves a seller about $1,000. You can look in a neighborhood at their price per square foot, what the price per square foot's doing within the neighborhood. So there's some different ways to kind of look at some different things for mailings. If you don't have a lot of, sales within that neighborhood that month. All right, where to mail? So number 1 has a potential turnover rate of 5% or greater. In Montgomery County, we have a much higher price point than, and again, this program is developed in Texas. You need a higher conversion rate because the property values are really low. Here, I give everyone a little bit more leeway. I'd say about a 3% to 5% conversion rate, and you're in good shape. So we look at the total number of active listings over the past 12 months and divide that by the total number of homes in the neighborhood to kind of come up, and we'll look over 3 years. We'll look back to see what's that conversion rate going on in the neighborhood. We also want to pick one that fits our desired sales price, right? We want to pick ones that sometimes have we see buyers, like there's townhomes, singles, and let's say estate homes, right? And sometimes people are moving within the neighborhood. So you potentially will get double enders, right? People who are listing and buying. The other thing, number 3, is picking neighborhoods that don't necessarily have a king or queen of the neighborhood. And sometimes in our minds, we think, oh, well, I've done this with lots of agents, like this agent owns this neighborhood, right? And I'm like, they haven't sold a home in 3 years in that neighborhood, right? So sometimes your gut can be a little off. So that's why we always want to make sure that we kind of break down the data for you guys and look at this practically. We've looked at different neighborhoods, and just an example from a couple of years ago. Comparing Oatlands to Norbeck Grove at that time, tax IDs, there were 321 tax IDs in Oatlands, 365 tax IDs in Norbeck Grove. They both look very similar as far as size. One had 14 homes that turned over in a year, the other had 9, right? And so there's things that you can start playing with, looking at the numbers, just based on how many more transactions might be out of a neighborhood, based on when the neighborhood was built too, right? Like what Steve was talking about, average turnover is about 10 years. Again, there's some neighborhoods that were built, let's say 7 years ago, 8 years ago. It might be coming into a sweet spot. And I look at some of those neighborhoods, a lot of people may have bought those new homes without agents. So they're not necessarily tied to an agent because they bought it through the new home route. So there might be some neighborhoods out there that are about to pop, right? That maybe there isn't a dominant agent in there because no one has sold anything in there on a large scale. So how to mail? Start by sending 8 and 8 postcards. Like this is kind of an optional thing based on your budget. Follow the 8 and 8 with neighborhood update cards. And then consistently add prospects by reinvesting at least 25% of the funds received from farm-related transactions. So there's a program, EDDM, Every Door Direct mailing through US Postal Service. That's a way to, what they will do is you get a bulk savings by carrier routes. So sometimes it's good to look at these carrier routes to figure out, well, maybe it makes more sense to just follow a carrier route than to actually follow maybe a specific neighborhood for a cost point of view. Other things people can do, let's say you're looking at a neighborhood, it's got 600 homes, you know, and Joe, you said, don't do 500 or more. How do I narrow this thing down? Sometimes what you may want to do is, you know, you can use different programs like HomeSnap. You can do some of this. Unfortunately, Bright took away Remind, but Remind was another program that allowed you to kind of do some data mining on this. But you can look into neighborhoods and just see who's been in the neighborhood. Through Bright, you can look and see transfer dates. So let's say I'm not going to farm to anyone who's bought in the last 3 years, right? Maybe I'll just farm to people who have lived in the homes for 10 years or more, right? Because they may be the ones more likely to sell. So you can play with kind of the numbers and some of the data to figure out if you've got to pick and choose out of a neighborhood. Once you start getting income out of that neighborhood, then you can reinvest and increase your numbers for the farm. Make sense?
I have a quick question.
Yep.
It's a little off topic, but with the Rewind from right, are they replacing that with something else, or do they just have to remove it completely?
You said not enough people used it. So you can still use it. It's really expensive on an individual subscription basis. I haven't seen anything come up. I'm trying to see if NAR RPR has some tools that will replace it. But Remind was really nice for doing some of that stuff. Yeah. HomeSnap has some of that too. You have to join the pro version, which for your first year is $99. And it will allow you to do some of that on the pro version of HomeSnap. So.
USPS, it's just offered by USPS, or?
Yeah, so there's companies like if you go to like expresscopy.com, and they usually run some specials for first time you ever set up an account. You can actually, they have a EDDM tool, so you can actually price out some post, like they've got a tool you can just price it out. Let's say you were looking, you know, in Olney Oaks at, you know, doing Olney Oaks, you may be looking at 3 different carrier routes, right? And it may turn out to be 750, right? Other neighborhoods, sometimes it's nice and concise. So it really depends, but they've got a tool on expresscopy.com. Yep. Okay, any questions on farming so far? All right, page 7. Oh yeah.
Do you recommend starting that, like with new agents or maybe waiting to see?
You know, again, I think it's I look at, like, again, we'll get delved into this, like first dollar spent in marketing always goes to my sphere of influence, right? If you are looking at growing your market share and growing your business, farming's an opportunity, right? Like there is, you know, you can buy Portal, you can buy Zillow Realtor leads, you can, you know, invest heavily in a dynamic website that might generate business. You can do Facebook ads, you can do farm marketing, right? There's a lot of different avenues. This is a tried and true one that a lot of agents have had success with, because it is, you can kind of pinpoint a price point, right? It's listing driven too, right? You're looking for listing business using this. but yeah, it's one that when agents come to me with brand new real estate businesses, it's rarely the first thing we start on, right? It's rarely the second thing, but it's usually about this third thing that once, we have some income coming in, or we have some money to invest, sometimes that's a good opportunity. But again, I tell agents, because it's that 2-year tail, it's a long tail kind of thing, that like, this is a long play, right? Like if you need income right now, this may not provide anything until your 24th month, right? So that's kind of the expectation I try to set with people. Neighborhood update cards. This is a sample of a neighborhood update card. Again, consistency. Monthly mailings. Like, I know agents, to try to stretch their budget out, they wind up saying, well, what if I did it every other month? And I'd say you'd almost want to do it twice a month as opposed to every other month, right? Like, if you are not consistent enough, you will not build that brand awareness, right? So consistency and frequency are going to be your friends. They also talk about doing like a quarterly farming postcard. So sometimes doing like a recap of what's gone on in the neighborhood over the last quarter, right? Like, and sometimes looking at, like in this case, the realtors put in what their list price to sales price ratio is. So sometimes as you're building, brand awareness with neighborhood plus you as the agent, sometimes then it's also like, here's what I do even outside of the neighborhood, looking at your list price to sales price ratios, what your days on market are.
What's the math for finding that? What's price to sales price ratio?
So if you go into Bright, you can actually pull out, actually, if you go to your awards, so if you go, I'll show you. So if you go to market, agent office production, I believe agent production report. So this will give you an easy way. Yep. So this will give you your list price to sales price ratio.
Market to agent production.
Is that
Market to agent production?
agent production and inventory report?
And that shows for like the year so far.
Yeah. So you can set whatever time period you want to set it for. Yep. Other ways you can also go in and search. I've set up a couple and I highly recommend doing this for your display reports. So I can do let's say a closed. And I'll add, let's say my listing. So this will be like, I can do a list, like a CMA display that's got the list price, close price. And I can export this to a spreadsheet.
How do you do that again?
So I've created a CMA display. So
The first one you did,
so anytime you're, let's say, you guys have you guys customized any of your displays in Bright? So in Bright, it'll give you a default display. Let's say it's this one, right? I can click on this and insert column, and I can add different things. Like I can add in already got list price in here, I believe. I think it's got like original list price, original list price. So I can add different columns in here to that one. And then I can move these columns around, make them, and then I can manage display, and I can save as a copy, and I can label this like, I've got mine as like my best display, right? Like, so I've got a couple different displays that I'll use. I've got like one I'll use for CMAs, and when we get into CMA Bootcamp, I'll show you how we create those. But you can play with all these columns and then create custom displays of how you want to see the data laid out. Whether you're looking for, you're just doing a regular search, right? You just need quick information, or if you really want to have like on a listing side, being able to compare listings. So like I've got a CMA spreadsheet display.
So that's the one we want to choose.
So you'll have to create this one.
Let's create it.
Yep, and I can give you all the columns that I use, but like this is one when I do a CMA, I'm kind of going off topic here, but when I do a CMA, this looks at what the original price was, the list price at contract, and then the close price, and then concession amounts. Because I want to come up with a net price too. If I'm looking at a listing, like what was the actual net price? Other things I'm going to look at is location of the bedrooms and bathrooms, right? Because sometimes that's important, right? Like a 5-bedroom house, one that has 5 bedrooms up and one that has 3 and 2 in the basement is totally different, right? Public, sewer septic. Is it a foreclosure, short sale, or standard sale? Pool. High schools make a difference. Heating fuel, oil, electric, gas. We're going to dig into this though during the CMAs.
So
But
how did you add the column again?
yep, just click on the column and it says insert column.
Okay.
Yep. And then once you've done that, you'll see here, this is manage display, and this will allow you to kind of create a custom display.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll ask you if you want to save changes to the current display or create a copy of it and then rename that copy. Okay, so there's ways you can search and kind of come up with some of this data. And I love playing with this data to see how we compare on different things. All right. Okay, any questions? So other things on the quarterly farming card, just real quick, sometimes also like think about a neighborhood that maybe has like a pool, right? Like there might be events within the neighborhood that you can also promote, right? If you're not just promoting the neighborhood sales, right? If there's this, and I'm always big on this, like if there's a swim team in the neighborhood, I always talk about that. That's like the summer watering hole for the neighborhood, right? People congregate there. It's a place where if there's marketing opportunities there, you could have social events, happy hours, swim team events, right? Like during the summer, there's usually for most pools, there's a Wednesday and a Saturday morning meet. Those are opportunities to market to, meet people. School calendars, right? Like we do school magnets, Montgomery County, like if the neighborhood's in Montgomery County, like do a school calendar, right? To that neighborhood. All right. The next approach is kind of a next level, is actually making quarterly calls or yearly calls into the farm. You can use different calling services to get numbers. Sometimes if you have a neighborhood directory, this gets harder and harder to get people's numbers these days.
When I was dealing with
Yep.
Reddit,
Yep.
whatever it was, I mean, all the numbers I got to do that stuff with prospect thing.
Yep.
Like 2 worked, and they had moved.
Yeah.
They just kept their number kind of things.
Yeah. So this is a call dialogue that you can use for calling into a farm neighborhood. But RedX is one of the services to find some of those numbers. You can also use whitepages.com. It's just kind of, if you're using like White Pages, it's kind of a one-off. You got to go in individually. You can also use HomeSnap. HomeSnap will also have some homeowner information in there. And then along the same lines is neighborhood websites and or Facebook pages, right? Some people create neighborhood Facebook pages. I do warn you a little bit. One of the traps you wind up falling into is that who owns the page? Does your business own the page, or does the community own the page?
That's the problem I ran into when I tried to open it up in my neighborhood.
Mhm.
The HOA wanted involvement.
Mhm.
They wanted me to post things for them and
Yep.
stuff like that. And
Yeah.
They wanted something that was uncomfortable to me enough that I said, never mind, I want the page.
Yeah, and sometimes what happens is there's a realtor in the neighborhood. They want to post on your page, right? Do you let them post or not? So that's where it sometimes becomes a little bit of a dilemma on what you post. I always say, like, make it your page. I think you should control the content, make it a good source of information that's out there. I think it just kind of eliminates some of the gray area. If people want to allow you to post stuff, you have the discretion of what you want to post or not post. Stuff to post, real estate articles, neighborhood pricing updates, tax advantages, how to fight your property tax assessments, mortgage information, vendor lists, right? Concierge lists, who does a great job. Sometimes, like in my neighborhood, we all have, like in my section, we have the exact same models, right? Like, so we modified our bathroom and I pushed out to my neighbors, like, hey, like, this is what we did. This is the contractor we used. If you're interested in moving your tub, here's the 3 things that you got to do to make sure you can move the tub. So there's some things that you can, push out for a neighborhood if you have that kind of information, especially with vendors. Testimonials, your personal stats, kind of a free list, right? Like anyone looking to donate stuff, recipes, neighborhood activities, right? Block parties, Halloween parties, food drives. Again, I'm big on swim team stuff. Like if there's a swim team, right, post the schedule of the swim team. Nextdoor does this too a little bit. So there are some other services now that have kind of come into the marketplace. So if you are interested in getting involved, sometimes Nextdoor may already have the corner on your neighborhood that you're considering. It's good to look into that too. Neighborhood cleanup days, shred days are really good too for neighborhoods. All right. Any questions on that? So let's skip to page 12. So this is the kind of your sign call, property call, internet ad call. These are incoming calls that might come on some advertisement that you have out there. You don't get as many sign calls per se these days, but that's not to say they don't happen. So it's important to be prepared for them. Let's see here. Let's skip to page 14. I met with someone from realtor.com a couple years ago, and they were recording phone calls of agents to consumers, or incoming calls to real estate agents from consumers, just to kind of see how the agents were doing. And it was literally, I think, like 90% of the calls were pretty much like, it was almost like the agent was so annoyed that someone was calling about the property, right? It was just very quick. If it didn't work out, it was the questioning ended, right? So I always look at this like, don't be typical. Take advantage of these calls when they do come in. Just ask some extra questions, right? Hey, I'm calling about your listing on 123 Easy Street. What do you want to know about it? How much are they asking? That's the price. List price is 150. How many bedrooms does it have? Has 4. And the caller says, okay, great. Thank you. No problem. Have a good day. The best way you want to do is, ask that next question, right? Is that property in this? We're now on page 15, right? Does that price range fit you or fit your needs? Is that within your budget? Yeah, maybe. Well, how many bedrooms does it have, right? Well, it has 4 bedrooms. Are you looking for a 4-bedroom home? Is 4 bedrooms the right size for you? No, we only need 3 bedrooms. So this is where, you shift into that label the looker method that we talked about during the open house, right? And it's basically what process we get into. Well, are you in the market for a new home? And if they say yes, then it is, how are you going about finding your next property, right? And listening to the process that they give you. That will give you some clues as to, are they using a really proactive approach or not a proactive approach? And if they're not using a proactive approach, if they're literally driving around calling on signs to find properties, they're not using a very good approach. So typically that's an inroad for you to help them, right? Some people just don't know that they need your help, right? No one's ever exposed them to needing help, because most agents give them the sales price. If that's not the right sales price, they get off the phone. All right. So the next couple pages, and we've gone over this, is the kind of that label the looker dialogue. So again, how would you like to use a proactive approach to ensure that you get the home you want and want the home that you get? Well, what would that entail, right? We talked about those 3 things: needs analysis, financial assessment, and then roles and expectations, and then close for the appointment. If they aren't closable for that appointment after you kind of pushed process, then I always recommend going to the off-market product speech, right? And that's basically what I find is when most buyers are calling on the sign, it's potentially too late based on this marketplace with low inventory. What I do for my buyers is I help them find off-market, for sale by owner, new home construction, coming soon properties that have been rented that might be coming out of the rental pool. So I kind of pitch them on the off market and then close for an appointment. See, hey, would you be interested in learning more about how I can find properties that aren't even on the market for you? They still say no, then I make the decision if I want to, keep pushing or not. But again, you'll see that is like, again, whenever you meet people on the street, whenever people are calling you or you're meeting them in an open house, it's a good dialogue to kind of have in your back pocket to work with people on finding out where they are. Okay. So these are our justification dialogues. We've already gone through these in the open house. All right, so we're going to skip. So page 22, these are home ads. And I would say this, and again, this program is a couple years old. This is right when social media was coming out big and burly with real estate. There were still things, people were still running ads, sometimes in newspapers or in Craigslist, to try to get people to, and I call this my, find an itch and scratch it, right? Like foreclosure list. Call this 1-800 number and we'll give you all the foreclosures, right? Like it was some like mythical foreclosure list. All it was some agent had the list out of Bright and we're giving but they weren't saying, hey, I'll give you foreclosure listings out of our MLS. So these are creating kind of find a niche and scratch it. So finding things that people are looking for, right? Like right now we're coming into the summertime. Like what's something property wise that people might be looking for, or feature in a home they might be looking for coming into summer? Deck. Yeah. What are the things? Pool. Yep. Like here's a have a list of 10 best properties on the market right now that have pools. Click here, right? Email me for a list of pool properties, right? Like sick of COVID restrictions on your pool, neighborhood pool, own your own pool, right? Like right now, I find that pools were one of those things, people hated them or loved them. Right now, like if you look in your comp set and you find a comp that's like 100,000 over the last couple comps, it may have a pool, right? Like that's one of the things I've seen more and more is people are willing to pay more for this. So first time home buyers, homes under a certain amount, foreclosure homes, fixer upper homes, horse properties, short sales, right? We don't have as many short sales foreclosures, only a handful within the county, but still, people are still like, I still get buyers all the time saying, well, hey, can you show me all the foreclosures in the marketplace, right? Like, hey, let's go find a property that's way overpriced and get it under market value. That's probably a better deal than going and trying to find and compete with a bunch of investors on a foreclosure that needs a ton of work.
And Bright is a space there for foreclosures.
Mhm.
And all of
Yep.
those.
Yeah, so
They're up there.
yeah, so that uses CoreLogic database. So CoreLogic will go in and look at public records. So whenever there is a pre-foreclosure, so a property that hasn't necessarily maybe even gone to foreclosure, but the county has filed or the state has filed a notice of default, meaning the buyer, the homeowner is a certain number of months late, they'll file a legal proceeding. CoreLogic picks up on that and will create a list. All those properties may not have a for sale sign and a lockbox on the front door. They may be another 60 days from being able to be shown. Yeah, that tab, that foreclosure tab. Yeah, it basically uses the CoreLogic database.
And that's an MLS.
And you can look in Bright. Bright has on market with lockbox foreclosures, but then CoreLogic will have, here, I'll show you.
Sort of website.
Yeah, it's just, let's see here. Search. Oh, I'm sorry, Realty Track.
It's in the,
Hmm.
so for the realty track, we need to purchase it, right?
It was included. Let's see here. Hmm. Okay, well, they're making us pay for it now. Sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Start your free trial.
Yeah, it was included, so no longer. But you can search in Bright or on market. So again, sale. Sale type. Auction, bankruptcy, HUD owned, in foreclosure, notice of default, REO, short sale. Yeah. And this will give a list of potential foreclosure. So again, you can kind of create this, and again, using this as an itch, right? Like someone's like, well, I want a good deal, right? Like I want a foreclosure because it's a good deal, right? It's leading with what they want, right? Or they think they want, and then being able to, dare I say, bait and switch, but really get them what they really, really want, which is, a good value on a good home, right? Not necessarily just a foreclosure.
And a fixer upper, is that, some people are like, oh, I'm willing to fix, but is there a tab for them?
Not really, because, there's, what's a fixer upper, right? Like
Yeah, depends.
to one agent, it needs a new faucet.
Right,
To another, it's like a complete shell.
right.
You guys do flips. I mean, how do you guys search for?
I mean, a fixer upper is like such a broad
It is.
category.
I think it means something else.
Yeah, to us, it's like, there's a difference between, a home needing like touch ups, like maybe new cabinets or this and that, rather than like, okay, we're gonna tear down this wall to make more space here and do this and that. So it's just like, there's just always a spectrum of it. For us, it's like, places that literally need like, needs to go in, remodel everything, fix it all up, but yeah, it's replacing new windows, getting a new roof, like stuff like that. Just basically what we see.
Yeah, it's all about like checking it out and seeing pictures, seeing it in person. I mean, to some people, like they're okay with that. Like it's like I
Sometimes the
said,
description will say.
and you can also tell by the pictures too. Like, sometimes with fixer uppers, sometimes they don't put pictures at the inside, they'll only put the outside.
I've seen that.
Mhm. So it's like then you read the description and then talk to the agent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like then that's it's like you either go in person, talk to the agent, and like, figure out that information for yourself. But that's also like another indicator when it's like those kind of fixer uppers.
All right, so the fourth method that they've got in here for marketing is as a just listed, just sold plan. So whenever you have a listing, and again, I'll get into this when I get into my supplemental, you have an opportunity to farm, kind of do a quick hit. Look, I've had my yard sign up, I've done an open house, maybe I met a couple of the neighbors. You have an opportunity to ingratiate yourself with them through just listed and just sold cards directly to the surrounding neighbors. Again, I caution agents that look like, yes, there is an opportunity to maybe get some business, but, oh, I'm sorry, this is 27. Yeah. I just do caution agents that the one-off postcard isn't always, it's a little bit of a stab in the dark, right? I mean, there's definitely possibilities to get business behind it. But I tend to find agents are a lot higher on, a lot more confident that they're going to get a lot more business out of these just listed, just sold than they actually do. So I always tell people like temper your kind of expectations on the just listed, just sold cards. But they can work, and they can especially work if you implement some door knocking with it. For instance, if you are gonna have a new listing in a neighborhood, you're having an open house this weekend, highly recommend like door knock the 20 homes right around your door. My joke is like, if you're within eyesight of your yard sign, it's a good thing, right? Like, because you can say like, you can literally point down the street and say like, yep, I'm listing that house right there. The owners have given me a key to their house. I'm trustworthy enough. Your neighbor's given me a key to list their house. We're having an open house on Sunday from 12 to 2 o'clock. Would love to have you guys stop by and take a look at the property, right? Just a way to kind of introduce yourself to neighbors.
How about you're not the listing agent?
Yeah, you can still do it. Yeah.
So the door knocking is what, a day, 2 days before?
Yeah, I mean, ideally people, if you're doing a Sunday open house, you might catch more people around on a Saturday. And I've had agents actually, what they'll do like through express copy or through some mailing houses, you can buy door hangers too. So if they're not there, you can write a personal message like, hey, stop by, I'll be, it has your branding on it, right? I'm holding 11712 Main Street open on Sunday, 12 to 2, please stop by, right?
Okay, so I actually have another open house this coming Sunday,
Okay.
actually it's Saturday. So.
Yeah, and I'd highly recommend having a flyer. Even if people like, again, they may be caught off guard. Like, what are you talking about? Hold on, who are you? Like leaving them with something, right? Then they read it, and then they're like, oh, okay, and then they get what you were there asking for. And they talk about making some phone calls around those new listings too, just to let them, hey, like, and they've got a script in here. My thing is like, hey, when you want to pick your neighbor, right? Like, so if you know of anyone who might be interested, again, in my neighborhood with all of the homes that have gone on the market, like I've never had a real estate agent knock on my door. So it's rare that agents will do this. And I always look at that as that's a marketing gap. That's something that you can do different than the competition does. Make sense? All right. And you can do the same thing once it sells, right? And they've got a dialogue in here for when it sells. Okay. So we kind of covered 4 different areas: geo farming, incoming calls, sign calls, property calls. Third thing was your find an itch and scratch it type of ads that you can run on Facebook. And then the fourth thing is just listed, just sold campaigns. That gives you some ideas of some marketing. I did want to kind of dig in really hardcore into my thoughts on marketing. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're going to work off of this package. Okay. So my 4 rules of marketing that you, 4 things you need to know. Number 1, you need to know your budget and track your results. At the end of the day, the last thing I want to hear anyone say is, you know, I want to get my name out there, right? Like, it's just, I laugh when people tell me that strategy, just because it's like, there's how many people in the world, right? Like, getting your name out there doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get business from it. The second thing is, you know, some people are like, well, if I just get one deal, right, it'll pay for itself. A good business runs on a 3 times ROI. So anything you invest in, it should return 3 times that money. Because you had to risk that money on a project, it should return your money twofold on top of that. So 3 times ROI is what we look for. One of the problems with marketing, and one of the adages in marketing is, you know, half of marketing works, half of marketing doesn't work, right? We just don't know which one is which, right? Sometimes we spend money on a marketing campaign and we just throw the money out there and hope it worked. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we try to take some of the guesswork out by tracking stuff. And that's where, when we go through yearly, looking at your yearly business plan, I'll ask you guys, like, okay, what were the things we did this year, right? Where did our business come from? Did it come from any of these where you spent money? Did you get any business that you could track from that? And sometimes they're like, I don't know, right? Like, I don't remember, maybe. And then, like, they'll tell me all their business came from Sphere. And then a week later, they come back in and they're like, actually, this was actually from an open house. These people I met at an open house, they referred me to these people, right? So it's good to kind of have those numbers tracked and understand where your business does come from. Okay, second rule of marketing: know your audience. Because again, you can market to everyone in the world, but really you want to find those people who are most likely to use your services. My sub rule is, my first dollar spent is always with my Sphere. They know me, like me, trust me. Any of my messages are going to hit them 10 times harder than anyone else out there. And sometimes what happens is, well, they know I do real estate, right? They know what I do. I don't need to market to them. And I'll tell you, if you were a fly on the wall in their household, they have no clue how you do your business, where you do your business, when you do your business. And they may not call you when it's time for them to do real estate if they don't know how, when, and where you do your business. Know your message, number 3. So the most genuine and the most effective marketing, the most effective marketing is genuine marketing, right? If it comes from your soul, if they can tell that this is you speaking, it's not just some robot generated script or something that was just cut and paste. If they know it's you, it's a lot more effective. Number 4, know your delivery. I'm sorry, I've got this wrong here. Number 4 is know your delivery. So you got to know which way you're going to put it out. Like, how are you going to use Facebook? Are you going to use print? Are you going to use internet? Are you going to use word of mouth? Are you going to use a banner? And then 5th thing is what I've got. Number 4 is know your competition, right? I have know your competition last for a very specific reason. Sometimes what happens is agents go and they look at what their competition's doing and they just say, well, I'm going to do that, right? We're just going to track them. It's good to know what your competition is doing, but it's also good to make sure that you are separating yourself from your competition. So I put it last for a very good reason, because I don't want you to focus on what your competition is doing first. So number one, your budget is up to you, right? Like, I don't control your finances, so you've got to determine what's the best budget for you. If you have $1 billion to spend on your marketing campaign in real estate and you build a plan that's $1.01 billion, it ain't gonna work, right? If you tell me you have $500 to spend, we can build a plan that will spend $500. So that's up to you to determine what your budget is. So apart from that, looking at number two. So number two, your audience. I always tell people there's two groups of people out there in the world. There's a group of people you know, and there's people you don't know, right? And my biggest thing is start with people you know. So in your databases, do you all know how many people are in your database? In your CRM? Okay. 40? Okay. Okay.
250,
Okay.
but yeah. But so far, I haven't received any business from them, so it doesn't matter how many people you know, I guess.
Well, and Erica, you kind of nailed it. 250 is about the sweet spot. I tell people is where, and psychologists have done this, like communities around 2 to 250 are the right size. As far, you know, anything over that, it becomes less connected. Anything less than 150, you sometimes don't give yourself enough of an opportunity, right? Because it is within your database with your relationships. I mean, these are relationships that you have, the more opportunities you have with these people. But what I do find with most agents in the business, newer to the business agents, is that really when I press them on really looking and being kind of critical of who they have relationships with, there's probably more people in your real sphere who just aren't in your database. So it's always, and I'll tell you, on a weekly basis, I am always looking and seeing, have I developed a new relationship? Did I meet someone new? Should they be in my database on a weekly basis? And I'm constantly adding people because I'm constantly losing people too. You know, there are people who, you know, just based on my test, they don't necessarily meet my criteria anymore.
It's funny because the people that I'm recently meeting are the ones that are interested in buying real estate, and not those that I have, you know, that I know for many years. Yeah. So I was in Monday that I met this person at the grocery store, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm looking to buy an investment property." So we exchanged information, and now, you know, I'm sending him emails and blah, blah, blah.
And it's funny you use the grocery store analogy. Like, so I always tell people, what's the test of someone who should be in your database? If you run into them at the grocery store and you know their name, they know your name, and you can carry on like a 15-second conversation with them, maybe board, family, occupation, recreation, dreams, right? Like if you know just something from Facebook, something from kids, whatever, that you could carry on a conversation, they should be in your database. And then Tom Ferry uses this kind of formula: 10% of your database every year should produce a transaction. So if you have a 150 person database and you're doing your marketing correctly, you should expect 15 transactions out of your database. All right. The other thing is, you know, when we have this audience of people who we do know, one of the things is they know you, right? They know that you are 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year into the business too, right? So it's a blessing and a curse. So that's where your marketing plan is really going to be critical. And that's where, if you can give them the confidence to refer you out, if you market to them correctly and they're like, oh, she's, you know, because I bet you people in your database have seen other people get their real estate license, come on hot and heavy, and then all of a sudden, guess what? They're somewhere else now. They're no longer selling real estate. And that person's probably like, thank God I didn't refer anyone to them. Thank God I didn't use them because they may not have been in it for the long run. So you've got a little bit of an uphill battle with some of your sphere to convince them. Once you do though, they will do your heavy lifting from now until the day that you turn your license in for your business. So we look at this as your sphere of influence, past clients, referral from your sphere, referral from your past clients. These are people who are, make up this, ideally your 250 people. All right. And then I put in here, what's the best referral? In other words, if someone was going to promote you, what would you want them to say? Okay. Okay.
Not in my dream house.
Okay.
You should use it.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So could you three answer first? So explain to me how did you get them their dream house?
Like processes and strategies.
Okay. Like what?
Like, for example, how like off-market stuff, especially in like this kind of market, considering inventory is so low, just using those strategies like talk about 10 offs, homes going out of their rentals, doing construction, stuff like that.
Okay.
Just giving them like different options so that it's not just looking at stuff on the MLS.
Okay, cool. Yep. You guys, are there things like, so you mentioned trustworthiness, negotiations, like, are there things that someone would say about your negotiations? So is there anything you do with, like, let's say like negotiations? Is there anything special that you do to negotiate for your clients?
Oh, I guess we can say if it only $5,000 more to get the dream house about the listing price, which is almost like nothing in today's market.
Okay. Yep.
Right? So that's something.
Okay. So what we're digging in here is, so it's really good to get a referral where someone says like, she's trustworthy. She works hard, right? She got us her dream house. It's another thing for someone to say, she got us her dream house by using a off-market strategy and got us a home that wasn't even listed. So we actually paid, I think we paid about 10,000 less than market, right? Like behind your back, that's the referral that you want, right? Where someone is giving you a referral with a process or a tool and a service. The best way to make sure people start speaking your language, right? Like they start telling people like, if you've got this 9-step off-market process, once they start referring you with your 9-step off-market process, typically it's because you've marketed it to them, right? Like they understand, they're almost like, Lexus has their, their certified pre-owned vehicles, right? Like that's their terminology. That's not mine, but I use their terminology because I see it as an advantage, right? And that's where you want your customers to start spilling out your processes. And that's going to happen with your marketing plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Remember I showed you the post I have on my social media, and a friend of us reached out to me after I posted a sign.
Yep.
So, and she said, our house is listed by my husband's company agent because we are corporate relocation. So he said, I reached out to her, but she said the corporate is taking care of it. So she said, our house is listed by the agent, but it's a home. Can you give me advice? And I'm like, but I remember you said that if this house, for example, if your house is listed with Joe right now, even if she hates you, as long as your agreement is still valid, I should not talk to her, right? Because otherwise it's a violation. I can only talk to her whenever your relationship is terminated.
If the client, well, as long as you're not approaching the client and saying, hey, your house is listed, is your agent doing a shitty job? As long as you're not, if someone comes to you and asks you for advice, like I can hire as many attorneys as I want to represent me, right? I can hire as many agents as I want to represent me. If the agent engages you and asks for your opinion, you're able to give it, as long as you're not just saying detrimental things about the other agent just to be spiteful, try to get the listing. But if you're giving honest feedback, right, like, and they've asked for it, you're able to give someone an opinion, or your professional advice, even if you're not their listing agent.
So that will be illegal or getting into trouble later. And what if that agent is coming out?
Well, and that's where you have to be careful, right? And
Yeah.
that's where it's like, look, like if it's like, look, they said your home's being, your home's listed as a 4-bedroom, right? Is your home a 4-bedroom? No, it's a 6-bedroom house, right? Like, that's factual stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like, to tell you, if you think that, your opinion about the agent personally, probably that would be a violation, right?
Yes.
That would be an ethical violation. But if someone's come to you and asked for your professional opinion and you give them kind of, quantitative advice as opposed to qualitative, then you're okay.
What do you say though to get them to come out of there, without pushing them?
Well, that's not your job, is to get them out of their agreement.
Right.
It's to really to, advise them. I mean,
So
But
what-
do you say something to the effect like, I can't really help you much while you're in the fire?
yeah, I mean, I'm limited in basically the advice I can give you because you are represented by someone else. I mean, based on, I looked at the listing, based on that, here's some things that would probably help make the property more marketable. And what I try to do is give people advice, like, because look, like if someone's just looking to fire their agent, you're probably like their next ex-agent too,
Mhm.
right? Like, so I tell people, like, typically, like, go to your agent and tell them,
Yes, that's
hey,
what I said,
make
yeah.
these changes,
Yeah.
or do this. If they refuse to do that, then maybe you should talk to their manager if you have a problem, right? Like, I give them, I keep, them over on that side. If they feel that, they're just not being represented, not being heard, then, if they feel that they want to make a change of agency, then they should talk to that side about that and see if they can make it correct.
So my question is what benefits may I get from giving that advice? Because apparently they're still in your
Yeah.
agreement.
So again, this is, big picture is that, look, like, so I've had people buy homes and sell homes with other agents, but still refer me business, right?
Okay.
And they bought or sold a home and hated the home and then call me to list it in 3 years. And right. So I always say, like, if you lose, don't lose the lesson, right? Don't lose the relationship, because there's still value in that, right? Like someone who like, man, again, if that person could be an advocate, like, look, like we got stuck in a terrible relocation deal where we had to use a cruddy agent. We would never do that again. Like, if you're thinking about doing that, like go talk to Heather, right? Like, she's awesome. She helped us out throughout the process. She didn't even get paid. And she was, she is awesome, right? Like those are kind of things that, like, I'll take that instead, right? Like, as opposed to just like, well, I can't help you, I won't help you. Because I always look at, like, look, I'm going to be in this business for a while. Business comes around, karma happens,
Yeah, and I think that if they're coming to you, they have like value and trust in you as well. like,
Yes.
For that advice.
Yes, because they saw our common friend get a house, so that's why it's like, they get stuck with this horrible agent. Just to prevent the conflict, kind of giving me advice, I'm like, I
Well-
don't want to violate of my professional code, if I'm just a friend without a license, sure, I'm jumping in. But right now, I'm a professional, so
Yeah.
that sort of thing I can do and cannot do.
And with corporate relocation deals,
Yeah.
is the client typically, in most of the cases these days, they have the choice of the agent.
Yes, they said they will give me 2 options, and both of them are horrible, they just pick the better of the 2.
And they typically they can pick their own agent though.
Yes.
They don't have to pick one out of and the way I look at it is like agents who do all of their business by, who are corporate relocation agents, they're terrible typically.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if they're willing to take, and what happens, they wind up, you make about 1%
Yes.
on a 2.5% commission. You typically will make about 1%. That someone whose business model is built on that usually is, they're just not very good.
Yes.
So what happens is, based on a transfer of an employee, the company will give them benefits, pay for their moving expenses, pay for all their real estate, commissions. But what they do is they put it with an agent who will pay them a referral fee. And typically that referral fee is like the one I'm doing right now is a 45% referral fee. So you don't make a whole lot on it because a lot of the money that I'm giving to corporate relo is going towards their benefits package. Because my client won't get the free move, the no commission unless I gives up some of my commission. So in that case, like, well, I'm not going to give a referral fee. Well, my client loses, let's say 25,000 in benefits. They're going to go with the relocation agent who will get that.
Yeah.
To get their
That
benefits.
makes sense, but it's still like kind of weird that like the agent has to give such a big referral fee. It's like
Yep.
the company's responsibility to take that.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Love the way the world works.
Yeah. All right. So let's dive in here. So we talked about like that referral, right? Like how does that referral come to you guys? And why and what are people saying about you? And this is really important that your messaging is on point because again, what I always want to have is my clients are like literally, they are my, they're kind of reiterating what's on my postcards. They're reiterating what's out of my Facebook posts. So number 3 is our messaging. So effective messaging conveys 3 things. Number 1 is branding, right? It brings your clients closer to your brand. You could just send them a postcard that's got your picture on it, your name on it, your cell phone, your email address, and that is branding, right? Tells them kind of who you are, but doesn't tell them a whole lot more than that. But almost all marketing does branding. Number 2, it brings them closer to your product. And in our business, the real product that consumers see is listings. That's really our product. And then number 3, it brings them closer to your process, right? And the process is how you do your business, how you list homes, and how you work with buyers. So really good marketing can do all 3 things in one post or one postcard. So what are the most effective marketing pieces to push out to people? Again, what I say is the most effective, the sub rule to this is going to be something genuine, right? And one of the things that you will have as an agent that's going to be yours and only yours is typically a listing, right? You have carte blanche ability to market your listing as much as you want. I've never heard a seller say, oh, please don't push my listing out, right? Like keep it in your pocket. Do not tell a soul about it. Buyers will be like, don't you tell a person, right? I don't want my picture on Facebook. I don't want you to say anything. My boss will fire me. My mother-in-law will kill us if she finds out that we're moving away, right? Like they don't want anyone knowing their business. Your listings, they want everyone to know their business. So your top marketing piece you can ever put out is going to be something about one of your listings, either a just listed, coming soon, or open house invite. So you can always do a just sold card too, but I look at a just sold card kind of as after the fact. It doesn't help my current client. It only really helps me. So I'll put as a 4th option is just sold, but always try to get an open house invite, coming soon, or just listed card out. It does all 3 things. Product, talks about a house, your branding, obviously, and then your process, right? How do you sell homes? I use print marketing. Who else use print marketing? The biggest agents in the marketplace all use print marketing to market their homes. It kind of puts you on an equal playing field with them. Number 2, the second message to push out is I have a buyer for X, right? Like I've done. So this is one, we have buyers waiting. If you're considering selling, now's the time. Our clients, Sandy and Dan, want to live in Brookville Farms. So this is a postcard we sent out to a target market, but we also sent it out to our sphere. So I have a buyer looking for, does two things. It's brand awareness, but it's also process, right? If you work with me and we cannot find inventory, guess what I'll do for you? I'll send a postcard out to a target market to try to find inventory for you that other agents won't do. So that's number two, is I have a buyer for. Number three, new construction. I always tell people all the time, 3 areas I lose money: referrals out of state, investor properties, and then new home construction. If you ever have a lot, right? Like I'll show you, we did a postcard, 3 great choices. Talked about these 3 lots, and the front of the card had something about like bring your own builder. You know, you can also partner with certain new home construction builders. So if you ever get lots, or if you ever have buyers who buy new home construction, push that out to your database. Let them know that you do new home construction. Because that does 3 things. It will do branding, it'll do product, and it also do process, right? You can find product that is off market, like new home. So number 3 is, oops, new home. Okay, number 4, investor specials, right? If you have listings, or if you're renting properties, right? If you've got I have had rental listings, right? And I've turned that into not just, hey, come and rent this property, but, you know, if you are interested in getting into investment, this is a property we are representing an investor for $3,000 a month. If you're interested in doing the same thing, let us know. Number 5, before and after staging. So staging, you know, and it could be a current listing that you've staged, right? Like maybe we've done virtual staging or actual staging. So that does branding. It will do active product, and then it will also do process. We do staging. Huh?
With staging, do people typically, like, do agents pay for that themselves, or is it the seller that would pay for that?
Good question. Yeah, it depends. I know some agents who will pay for, let's say, the consultation, like a $250 to $400 consultation, and then the client pays for the time of investment in the furniture and materials. Other agents will charge a higher commission amount, and they will cover the furniture and all of those expenses. I tend to have my clients, if it needs staging, that they will pay for the staging. And we try to use virtual staging now too. But, you know, staging, some agents, that's their business model, is staging. That's one of their big pushes. So, you know, depends on how they want to. So I've got 2 agents who do their own staging, who I work with, and then most everyone else farms it out to a third party. Like Maria uses Ann Souter. She's excellent. She's a third party stager. Other people have their own inventory, but it's a lot of work if you're doing your own staging. But we will still, like, we have our own, you know, we've got 5 Tupperwares full of, like, you know, towels, linens, you know, just bedspreads that will, you know, just pretty up a place that maybe needs it. But if they actually need hard furniture, then I need a third party.
When I sold mine, the realtor, she staged it for me, but with my own.
Yep. Yeah.
Got rid of stuff. And
Yeah.
I was like, why? But yeah.
That's like the decluttering
Yeah,
aspect.
declutter, took down pictures, you know, personal pictures. And
Would like a reason be for like removing pictures, kind of like for the buyer to have a sense of what the house feel like if it's theirs, I guess?
Yeah, like, see, depersonalizing the house is always a good idea. I mean, you don't want it to look like a hospital, like ward either, you know, but it's always a good idea, depending on how much stuff they have on the walls. It can be distracting, right? Like if it's just like walls of family pictures. And I've seen buyers just go into homes and they just look at the pictures. Like, I'm like, folks, over here. You know, so sometimes it's good to have that shows, you know, happy family lived here, people love the house, but it can also be really, really distracting. Yeah. Number 6 thing is proof of success. So these are your under contract, just sold. What's your price per square footage? We did a postcard one year that we, you know, had the highest price per square footage in Olney, Brookville, Ashton between 650 and 750. And we had the second highest price per square foot in Olney, Brookville between 550 and 660, right? I made up these, like, there isn't like, is there a 650 to 750? Like, no, there's no, but I, you know, I went in and I was like, look, like, we've got this stat, let's go use it, right? Like, you know, I'm trying to show proof of success, right? Like, what does it mean for our clients, right? Like, again, when I go in, I'm like, look, my job is to try to make sure that for the product that you have, I'm getting you the most amount of money, right? Like, and I use price per square footage as kind of that number. So we push that out to our database. Okay, other marketing. Let's see here. The 7th thing is going to be unique selling propositions. So this is going to be how I sell real estate. You know, looking at any kind of tools and services that you've got in your business. I put it last on the list because sometimes these are harder to connect with people on how you do the business. Usually anything that's product related works a lot better. Okay. And I'm out of order here a little bit. Number 4, and so what I've got for your rule number 4 is going to be rule number 5. So number 4 is going to be your delivery method, right? And this is where you get to pick print, social, internet, word of mouth, events, right? These are different opportunities. This is not on here.
Oh.
Yep. So rule number 5, which is rule number 4 on here, is your competition. So I look at there's your biggest competition is going to really fall into 2 categories. Number 1 is going to be the mega team, mega agent, right? Who's got 25 people on their team. They've got 150 transactions last year compared to your 4, 5, 10, 20. There's always a bigger agent than you out there. The second competition you're going to run into is going to be your limited service broker. You know, I'm trying to find a better word, to kind of more of an insult, but people call them discount brokers. Discount's actually a good thing, right? But what they are is really limited service or cheap. Cheap's a really bad word. Yeah, like Redfin, or there's tons of them out there. Redfin isn't the first and it won't be the last. So it's building effective marketing campaigns that kind of separate you from these 2 competitors. So looking at your competition, for the mega marketer, I look at my 8-step multiple offer plan. What I find with major, like, big teams is that they tend to, you know, not have as much high touch, right? They have a lot, like, again, some of these big teams, they rely on their volume to kind of generate business, but lose touch with their individual clients because it's usually handed off to an assistant to follow up. So we talked a lot about like what we do with our 9-step multiple offer plan. Coming soon, professional photography, print marketing, following up on our Thursday, Friday showings, Facebook ad campaign, driving traffic to our Sunday open houses. Our Sunday open house is usually very big. Follow-up, we are really heavy on our follow-up from any showings, checking reverse prospecting. And then lastly is the open house. And then multiple offers on Monday. And I'll give you guys this whole marketing plan too. I'm kind of running through this just because we're running out of time. But again, when you are competing against big agents, you want to come in almost below them in that you are really delivering high quality on a very personalized level. You are going to personalize and have a very individual marketing plan for them that they're going to lose when they go with a big agent who's got 15 listings coming on this weekend. Their focus is not going to be on your listing this weekend. My sole focus is going to be on your listing this weekend. I'm going to do everything possible to squeeze the marketplace out into your property. And one of the things I'm trying to do is there's 3 factors that sell properties. And apart from location, right? We always hear location, but it is pricing, condition, and exposure. So it's my job. My clients are hiring me for the exposure. Pricing and condition is up to my clients to determine. So I need to make sure my marketing plan is really fully takes into account all of the marketing and that there is no question that I haven't marketed their property. All right. Second biggest competitor you guys are going to have is going to be a discount broker or a limited service broker. So what I do is I look at the 7 areas that a limited service broker loses our clients money. So number 1, it's going to be the pricing. They sometimes are not savvy with the pricing because again, with their models, it is a division of labor. It might be someone who does the pricing, someone who does the marketing, someone who does the showing, someone who does the negotiation, someone who takes it from contract to closing, and they are not communicating with each other. So pricing is the first area, pre-marketing, and then on-market marketing is number 2. Number 3, buyer follow-up, making sure that when there are active interested buyers, that someone is actively showing and working with them and following up with them. Number 4 is going to be the contract negotiation. When those contracts come in, getting those negotiated, your home inspection negotiations, your appraisal negotiations. Many brokerages will not meet the appraiser at the property. It's just not worth their time. And that's an area where we've seen appraisals can come in 100,000 low, 20,000 low, depending on your price point. You can lose, you may save 1%, but that agent just gave away 2% by not meeting the appraiser. And then the last thing is walkthroughs. In a real estate transaction, there are 33 different negotiations, right? So hiring a company that's just going to give away your money because they are doing it on the cheap, you could really sell yourself short. So, all right, I've got a whole Facebook ad campaign. We've done those before and we'll do them again. So I apologize, we're kind of running out of time. Any questions before we depart today?